Calculus, Chapter 1, Section 6, Differentiation Techniques, the Product and Quotient Rules. First, we're going to look at the product rule. It's really important to remember that when you have two functions multiplied together and you want to take the derivative, you cannot take the derivative of the individual functions and then multiply that together. It will not give you the correct answer. However, you could multiply the two functions together first, then take the derivative, or you could use the product rule. The product rule says that if you're going to take the derivative of two functions multiplied together, you take the first function and you multiply it by the derivative of the second, and you take the second function multiplied by the derivative of the first, and then add them together. And that will give you the derivative of the product of two functions. So let's try it with this. Now you're not going to simplify. What that means is you're going to leave everything in the parentheses. Don't try to work this thing all the way out to its bitter end. So try the product rule with this. Remember, you're going to take the first function times the derivative of the second. You're going to take the second function times the derivative of the first and stick a plus in between those two things. Pause the recording, give it a try, and resume to check your answer. Okay, so f of x is x to the fourth minus 2x to the third minus 7. We'll let g of x, our second function, be 3x squared minus 5x. We'll find the derivative of each. So the derivative of f is 4x to the third minus 6x squared, and the derivative of g is 6x minus 5. And then we'll put everything into the product rule. So we do the first function, x to the fourth minus 2x cubed minus 7, times the derivative of g, 6x minus 5, plus g, 3x squared minus 5x, times the derivative of f, 4x to the third minus 6x squared. And that's all you need to do. They didn't want you to multiply all that out and combine like terms and everything. You should have left it just like that. Same song, second verse. Now try it. Now that you've seen what to expect, now that you know what the answer is expected to look like, give this a try. Pause the recording, give it a go, and resume to check your answer. Okay, the first thing they did was they rewrote the square root of x as x to the 1/2, and once you've done that, you're good to go. So we have x squared plus 4x minus 11, which is the first function, times the derivative of the second, which is 21x squared minus 1/2 x to the minus 1/2, plus, now we do the second function, 7x to the third minus x to the 1/2, times the derivative of the first, which will be 2x plus 4, and that's all we need to do with that. Now try these problems. Again, don't simplify, just write them out using the product rule. Pause to give them a try and resume to check your answer. Okay, there's our first answer. And then part B. Now we have the quotient rule, and again, when you want to take the derivative of a quotient, you cannot take the derivative of the top, the derivative of the bottom, and then just divide. You can't do that. It will not give you the correct answer. What we have instead is this rule that says you do the denominator times the derivative of the numerator minus the numerator times the derivative of the denominator, and then all of that goes over the denominator squared. Now, let's try the quotient rule by taking the derivative of this function. Pause the recording, give it a try, and resume to check your answer. Okay, so we have the denominator times the derivative of the top, the numerator, minus the numerator times the derivative of the denominator over the denominator squared. Now here they did multiply it out and simplify it. All right, try these. Pause the recording, give them a go, and resume to check your answer. Okay, using our quotient rule, and part B. Okay, we're going to be doing some word problems and some business-related word problems. So a few definitions here. If C of x is a function that determines the cost of producing x number of items, then the average cost of something would be C of x over x. In other words, the cost of producing a certain number of items divided by that number of items. And then we have a similar function for revenue and profit. Revenue, if R of x is the revenue from the sale of x items, then the average revenue will be R of x over x. And if P of x is the profit from the sale of x items, then the average profit will be P of x over x. So we have a business problem here. Paulson's greenhouse finds that the cost in dollars of growing x hundred geraniums is modeled by this function. And we have another function here for revenue. And again, remember, x is in hundreds. They want us to find the average cost, revenue, and profit when x hundred geraniums are grown and sold. And then they want to find the rate at which the profit is changing when 300 geraniums have been grown and sold. Now, let me remind you that we determine profit by taking revenue, R of x, and subtracting our cost, C of x. Let me also remind you that the rate of change for a number is found by taking the derivative. Pause the recording, give this a try, and resume to check your answer. We're just going to take each function and divide it by x. So the average cost is 200 plus 100 4th root of x over x. The average revenue is 120 plus 90 square root of x over x. And then the average profit, just subtract those two. So we have negative 80 plus 90 square root of x minus 100, the 4th root of x. And all of that is over x. Now for B, we're going to have to take the derivative of that thing. So the first thing we did was we transformed our roots into powers, and then we're going to use our quotient rule. So it's going to be the denominator times the derivative of the numerator minus the numerator times the derivative of the denominator over the denominator squared. Then they multiplied through by the x and did a little simplifying, and finally got our equation there. And then finally put in 3. Now you may wonder why 3 and not 300. Because remember, x is representing hundreds. So if it's 300 geraniums, then we want x to only equal 3. And we get 1120. So when 300 geraniums have been grown and sold, the average profit is increasing by $11.20 per 100 plants, or 11.2 cents per plant. Okay, this is the summary of the section. Really just encompasses our product and quotient rule. Pause the recording to look this over, and then resume to do the additional practice. Okay, the rest of this is additional practice, so pause as you go through these and try the problems, and resume to check your answers. Do this for the remainder of the recording.